Right, fine, the third time might be a charm. I have a bit of a history of playing sports simulation games, no matter how dull those sports happen to be. You can drive a car around a circuit and pretend that it's a sport, but I will just call it a Tuesday. I don't get the point in calling something sport. Nonetheless, I have put many hours into these sports simulation games. Everything from Pro Evolution Soccer to FIFA to F1 to wrestling, if you want to even slightly call that any sort of sport. It's dramatic aerobatics. Nonetheless, I have that history, and I have recently been playing a game called Tour de France 2020. A key was provided for the purposes of a review. Now, I could make many jokes, as I have in the last 2 times that I've tried to record this, about French, German, and then a joke about German being just as easy as English by making a joke about where's France, much like how England decided to say where's anywhere else. Both recordings were crap and were deleted. Nevertheless, the game, I have the same opinion every time that I've recorded this, and every time I've tried to express this opinion. I don't like it. Some people who do enjoy the Tour de France, who actually enjoy it, might get some hope of a game, but I don't like the game as a game because it's not fun. It's not fun to play. Let me simply state that when you're cycling, you have a repeated motion of moving the pedals in long-winded explanations of how pedals work. I'm pretty sure most people know how a pedal works and how it moves wheels. With that out of the way, I would say the most simple way to emulate that in a video game is to tap any button. Whether that be A, B, Y, Z, X, not cross. I will shiv someone at PlayStation for that. Nonetheless, the point is, we know how pedals work, we know how they work in video games. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas had you tap, Bully had you tap, Grand Theft Auto 5 has you tap, even now 8 years on and in its 3rd generation of console. Let's ignore the PS5 for a minute. The game does not use that tapping motion, doesn't use that repeated motion of which you, the player, invoke to move the pedals, thus move the bike, thus cycle. That's important because what you do use is RT, or the right trigger on the Xbox One control. Now, for F1 2019, I understand that. That's a car. You're using something that you can temper as a throttle. I don't, but we'll come to that cross when it matters. That is a throttle. That is a throttle-like motion. You're putting pressure into something to invoke a car to move. Using that for a bike is stupid, and I will stand by that point until I'm dead. It is a stupid thing to use for a bike. So, Tour de France 2020, a game all about cycling, bikes, and staring at a man's bottom for many hours, is a game that uses RT to move a bike. Now, it makes sense when you think, okay, you can temper your use of RT to temper your use of energy. You can manage your energy within the game by managing your use of the throttle. But, and this is the thing, you could just as simply tap slower or tap faster. And within the game, you can use Marvel's, Sony's, Spider-Man's left genital piercing. You could use a bit of coding to say, okay, I want this amount of tapping to invoke this amount of force, I guess. You could use a bit of accessibility to help with that, but you don't. That's not how Tour de France 2020 works. You have to use RT for some stupid reason, and I don't like that. That is painful when you're cycling for hours to temper the throttle as you climb a hill that's quite steep and you stare at a man's bottom. The other thing that's quite annoying, yes, is the physics. Friction is no longer friction, it is super friction, where your bike will stop in the matter of feet instead of yards or many feet. It will stop almost instantly, and if you're on dirt, oh, it's worse. You'll stop in inches. That's not how bikes work. Going 36 kilometers an hour doesn't mean that you'll do what? That doesn't make sense. You'd slow down in maybe 10, 20 feet, yes, but in the matter of inches? No. To cut a very long, boring chat about physics and how physics work, I don't like Tour de France 2020 because it doesn't play by simple rules. It doesn't like to... I won't say it doesn't like to be realistic. It tries to play on a bit of realism, but also a bit of video games. But when it does try to be a bit of a video game, it's cutting out its own game, so you don't have to spend as much time with it. You can just let your cyclist just go ahead. There is a fast forward option where you don't have to hold the control, but that's not gameplay. That's nothing to do with gameplay, that's just cutting it out. Whereas actually playing, it feels bad. It feels bad to play because it hurts to play. Holding down the RT, trigger, is fine. It is fine if you're going full tilt, but if you're just tempering it, well, it's a bit crap. It's painful after 2 hours. So why is that a thing? I don't understand. It's painful and it's annoying to play.